Okay, let's have a look at this GCSE question on utility bills, and this one is about electricity, as you can see here. So let's read this first line here. It's important. You will be assessed on the quality of your written communication in this question. What this tells us is that out of these 7 marks here for the question, 2 of them are for your written communication. 1 mark for labelling all your workings all the way through, and the other mark for setting out your workings clearly so that the reader can see exactly what you're doing. Okay, so let's tackle this question then. So Mr. and Mrs. Price, they received an electricity bill, and here's the details below. Present meter reading 7,982 units, previous meter reading 6,629 units. Okay, a meter is something that are in all houses outside or inside the house and used to track how much electricity, gas, water we use throughout the year. Present meter reading means the meter reading of today, or the most recent one, and the previous meter reading would have been the last meter reading, and that's usually less than the present, because obviously you've used some electricity from last time to today, and there's usually a 3-month gap, although that's not important in this question, but it's good for you to know. Okay, next thing they tell us is charge per unit, 19.3 pence. Make sure you read that there, pence, it's not pounds. So that means for every unit we use, they're going to charge us 19.3 pence. So if you use 2 units, you times that by 2, 10 units times by 10, 15 units times by 15, and so on. Then we got VAT, 5%. Well, that stands for value added tax. And a value added tax is something we have to pay to the government. And that's how the government in Wales and in London, at Westminster, gets its money. It charges all the people who live in the UK taxes. And this is one of those taxes. So here's the question. Find the total cost of electricity, including VAT. Give your answer in pounds, correct the nearest penny. You must surely work in. So a little reminder there to surely work in. So I'm just going to underline a few things a second here that are important. So we've got to do total cost, and we've got to include VAT. That's important. I've got to remind myself. I've got to give my answer in pounds, and I've got to do it to the nearest penny at the end. Okay, so let's start the question. So for my written communication, I said earlier you have to label all your workings out. So the first thing I'm going to do, and it's the first thing you always do when working out any bill, is work out how much you have used, whether that's electricity, gas or water. And we use our meter readings to do that. So the units used is my label, that's fine, is take the present meter reading, the larger number, 7,982, take away 6,629, which is our previous meter reading. So it's always the larger, take away the smaller, and that gives us 1,353 units. And I'm going to underline that at that point. Remember, you can use a calculator. This is a calculator question, so use your calculator. Don't do this without when you're allowed to use one. The next thing we need to do then is work out the cost of these units of electricity, and that's where the charge per unit comes in. So because we've used 1,353, we need to multiply that by 19.3 pence. So as a label, I'm going to put here cost of units, and that is my 1,353 multiplied by my 19.3 pence. And I'm going to put the pence there to remind me my answer is going to be in pence. Now when I do that on a calculator, I've got to remember the answer is in pence. Calculator doesn't know you're working in pence and pounds, it just deals with numbers. Okay, so 1,353 times 19.3, I get 26,000. Oh, just do that again, sorry. Okay, we get 26,112.9 pence. Now I'm going to leave that 0.9 there for a minute. I'm not going to do any rounding yet. Now I'm going to change it to pounds because it wants my answer in pounds at the end, so I'm going to change this to pounds before I do anything else. So I'm just going to tell everyone how I'm doing that. So pence to pounds. Remember, we divide by 100. So I'm just a little label there telling the reader I'm changing this pence into pounds now by divided by 100. So I get my £261 129. So that's my answer. So when you divide this by 100, all the numbers go down 2 places, or it looks like the decimal point goes up 2 places. Remember, you can use a calculator, although really you shouldn't have needed one. So that's my cost of my electricity, cost of the units in pounds. So I underline that. Now I need to work out the VAT at 5%. So a little label, 5% VAT. Okay, a little label there. Just telling everyone I'm about to work that out. Now, the easiest way of working this out is, because we've got a calculator, is to change this percentage to a decimal. So let's remember what it means. 5% means 5. Oops. Do that again. 5% means 5 out of 100, or 5 100ths as a fraction. That little percent, remember, is the number 100, written like that symbol. That's where that symbol came from. We know as well that this line in a fraction means divide, so that means 5 divided by 100. So this is if you forget what 5% is as a decimal, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to change it to a decimal, because it's easier to work with a calculator. When you do that on a calculator, or without, you should be able to do it without, you get 0.05. And here's our multiplier to find 5%, 0.05. So we take our 261.129, and we don't round yet, we're going to round at the very end. If you round too many times in the middle of a question, you could have a rounding error in your answer. And if you're a little bit out, you could lose a mark. So, by doing 261.129 times 0.05 on my calculator, I have now worked out my tax, my VAT. And that comes out as £13.05645. Now, we can't leave all that there for money, but I'm not going to round yet. I'm going to round at the end. We know it only goes up to 2 decimal places for pence when we write it with a pound sign, but I'm going to leave that there for now. So that's my VAT. Final thing to do then is to add the VAT onto the cost of the units to get my total cost. And there's my next label, total cost. Okay, so we take the cost of the units before I worked out VAT, which was £261.129. I'm going to add the VAT, which is £13.05645. I'm going to put down the calculator, and I get £274.18545. Now this is where I'm going to round, because I have to give my answer to the nearest penny, remember, up here. So always keep checking the question to make sure you've answered the question. So how do I round this to the nearest penny? Well, we know we need to go up to 2 decimal places, and then we look at the next decimal place to decide on whether to round up or down. So because that's a 5 or more, then we know that's going to round up to 19. That's going to make that 8 into a 9. If it was less than 5, then it would stay as an 8 and be 18 pence. So we get £274.19. And in brackets, I'm going to tell everyone what I did, which was round to the nearest penny. Now, because I finished, I'm going to do a double underline. Tell everyone I finished. So let's quickly recap that. So the first step was to work out the units used of electricity, and you use the meter readings there, those two. Larger one take away the smaller one, present take away previous, and you get 1,353. Then you work out the cost of those units by multiplying by the charge per unit. Remember, the answer's in pence. If you forgot that's in pence and you wrote £26,112, then you'd have a ridiculously large bill. That could possibly not happen, right? So your bills are always around a couple of £100, so remember that. Then we have to add the 5% VAT, and the best way of doing that with a calculator is to use a decimal multiplier. So 5% became 0.05 as a decimal, and just times it by your amount and you get your 5%. Then we had to add it on to work out the total cost, and then finally round it to the nearest penny, because that's what the question wanted. So there must be a mark attached to that. Okay, I hope you understood all that, and thank you very much for watching and listening.